Paul George.
Who?
Paul George.
The Clippers one?
Mm-hmm. Marquise, Chris, Paul, George, Hill.
I was going to go Papagiannis.
Yeah, but I don't know of a George basketball player that I can go after that. Like Mirasan, no, that's nobody's first name. So I think it kind of stops at Marquise, Chris, Paul, George, and then whoever you want to put after for the combo. Like Ken Griffey Jr., Felix Jose Canseco. Yeah, we've gone through this before. I'm still looking for a longer one. Hi. Paul George is reportedly being gauged by the Clippers for trade value. And so, of course, we have to ask, what would that look like on the Sacramento Kings? So a few things. Number one, I like Paul George.
Good player.
I've always liked Paul George. I didn't like him when his 4-point play at Arco Arena sent the Kings to overtime, and they ended up winning in overtime. He's also 33 years old. He just turned 33 in May. 24 points, 6 boards, 5 assists, and a plus defender he always has been. Paul George, who has played in 56, 31, 54, and 48 games over his last 4 seasons. Of course, one of those being the truncated COVID years. But it begs the question, is Paul George and his declining age and his lack of full seasons, is he worth what the Kings would very likely have to give up for him?
Makes 45.6 next year.
Whoa.
At 33 years old. He'll be 34 the following year with a player option of 48.7.
Which he will be opting into.
Will he, or will he go for one last long-term deal?
I think he'll take that and then go for a long-term deal. I think he's
at 35, really.
I mean, by long-term, I mean, I think he'll get something like, 3 years and $70 million.
Gosh. Yeah, I'm out.
That's the thing, is that there's a difference between.
I hate contracts. They ruin everything.
They really, really do. Because, I mean, $45.6 million, which means the following year, assuming he opts in at 48.7. Oh, by the way, he would have the option, as you point out, of opting out, and then you get nothing for him if he leaves.
Potentially.
But 48.7, when you combine that with what De'Aaron Fox is going to make the year after next, which would be 34. So now you're up to 80, over 80 million. And then you can add in, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but Sabonis is going to make at least 40.
Something in that range. Sure.
So you're now at $120 million, an average of $40 million between 3 players. And by the way, by then, Paul George will be 35 years old.
That's the thing. It's just the age.
It really is.
It's
the age of the contract, too.
It's the age in the contract. It's not what he doesn't do on the floor. When he is healthy, he is still a top flight NBA player. Straight up. Like, you watched it. I've seen it. And Paul George led that team to a Western Conference Finals appearance a couple years ago when everyone had written them off. That was with Kawhi hurt.
Rank for me speed bumps for you, because it seems like over the last few days we've had a lot of conversation about, well, if he could stay healthy, Zion Williamson. If his contract wasn't so bad, Bradley Beal.
Right.
If he could stay healthy and if he wasn't making a ton of money, Paul George. So it seems like we're centering around 3 things so far with everyone available. And by the way, John Collins was another part of that today. How much is he making? How old is this person? What's their availability?
I've, over the last couple of years, really gotten off the age thing. I think enough guys have shown they can still be very productive into their late 30s. Money doesn't scare me too much because I've always been of the opinion if you're a competing team, you're likely going to be in the luxury tax. It's the injuries that kill me, because injuries tie into all of that, right?
Sure.
That is, like, to me, the umbrella is injuries, because then it's like, man, we're paying this guy this much to not play, or man, we got this guy who's old and can't play. But it all factors around he's not playing. Because if I had a magic crystal ball and you told me, hey, Paul George, this money, this age, 70 games a year, I'm signing up for it all day.
Well,
all day. But when it's 50 to 60 games a year, no, I'm sorry. The Kings showed it last year. Having guys available for the majority of the season is the recipe for success in the NBA. Look at, the team Paul George is on now with Kawhi was when they signed that duo in 2019. Everyone's talking title. They've been to one Western Conference Finals, and that was without Kawhi. It's the injuries, man.
Because you can't do anything about the contract, and you can't do anything about the age.
No.
Can't do those aren't changing.
Nope.
Those aren't adjusting. So would Bradley Beal make the Kings better? Yep. Would Paul George make the Kings better?
Yep.
Yeah. Would a semi-healthy Zion Williamson make the Kings better?
Yeah. I said it. Give me Zion for 65 games in the playoffs. Sign me up.
And here's the funny thing is, let me ask you, and this is the question I try to ask with these guys just to take everything away from it. What if the Clippers offered Paul George for a second-round pick?
Yeah, then I'm probably doing
Are
it.
you?
Yes.
Because
if I can make the money work.
But there's an argument, and that's why I always throw this question out. Okay, so you just got Paul George effectively for free. But you have 1 and possibly 2 years, I would say probably 2 years, of him making around $50 million a year. You are now officially in cap hell. He is an upgrade over Harrison Barnes. We can all agree. But you still have the age issue. You still have the games issue. And you're not quite in Suns no man's land, but you're close to it in the sense that you have no room to maneuver.
Well, here's why I say I have a little bit of room to maneuver. Number one is, again, that contract year. One of them is this year. The final, let's say he opts in, right?
Sure.
You're done with him after that year. And that's the first year of Domas's contract. Then you're out of cap hell.
Yeah.
You're in cap hell for 2 years, but you also have a potential title contender on your hand.
So
that's what makes it worth it for me.
You and I are in agreement that we would take him if it was for a second-round pick. I think we're also very much in agreement that the LA Clippers are not trading.
Of course.
Right, of course. So I do think it's a fun exercise to start with the second-round pick question, because now, in addition to all the worries we would have, even with it just being a second-round pick, now let's talk about what the Kings would have to give up. And again, I don't see the Davion Mitchell, Rashawn Holmes 2 to 3 first-round draft picks poo-poo platter.
You'd have to give up like Kevin Huerter or Keegan in that deal too.
Yes, you would.
That's where it's just like,
yes, you would.
I feel like if they weren't willing to give up, even discuss Keegan in a Bradley Beal trade, they're likely not doing it in a Paul George trade.
Of course they're not. Of course they're not. Beal's
and if you're the Clippers, is like a poo-poo platter of Huerter, Holmes, Mitchell, and some first. That intriguing to you? Do you feel like your team is better?
No, you're going to have more money to work with.
Sure.
Huerter's on a great contract. Mitchell's on a rookie deal. Rashawn has 2 years left. That's $13 million. You're in a good spot.
And we'll probably get playing time, by the way. The Clippers
probably would get playing time. Montrezl Harrell has opted out of his, I think, $2.7 million contract to become a free agent. That's somebody that would intrigue me as a low number.
Yeah.
Not a game changer.
No.
Just a roster spot.
Yeah, I mean, his star has really fallen since that Sixth Man of the Year award. Like, he's opting out of 2.6. Like, what is he getting on the open market? It's not like he was great in Philly last year.
It better be more than 2.6, dude. Because
isn't that crazy? You have to say that. You better get more than 2.6.
Yeah. We're going to talk more Kings in the next segment, but it should be noted that Kyle Kuzma has officially opted out of his contract. $13 million player option, will become a free agent.
Be ready to hear that name attached to the Kings.
You're going to hear that name quite a bit attached to the Kings. Again, is Kuzma your guy? He's a great fit.
I told this to Chris on Monday when we were hosting. Kuzma's my guy as long as he knows he's not the guy.
I think he would understand that. I'm not worried about that. I don't want to go against what I've said before, though. You have one spot in the starting lineup that you can legitimately upgrade right now.
Dude, he fits like a glove.
Great rebounder for his position. Great scorer.
Yeah.
But I
can play the 4. You can move Keegan to the 3.
I do have to point out, though, that one of my major issues with other players has been if you have one spot in the starting lineup to improve, It really should be a guy that is a gifted or at least overly competent defender. Because Kuzma will help you on the boards, and that's great.
Which you showed in the Warriors series. You needed a lot of help. You
do need help. Kuz isn't exactly going to kill it for you on defense.
No, he's not looking to make an all-defensive team anytime soon.
Which, once again, we can both agree, when it comes to availability, contract, and overall skills that would fill this team properly, the obvious answer is, of course, Ben Simmons. And that's JayMarZZ. 1-800-920-1140. Do you agree or disagree with him? 916-339-1140. We'll take a break. Okay, well, what do they need most in this offseason? That's exactly where we're going. That's exactly where we're headed. And who do you move around? We'll get to that next in 30 seconds on Sactown Sports.
The Kings season might be over, but Sactown sports coverage never stops.
Returning is honestly my number one priority. Be a part of something special.
Stay tuned all off-season to Sactown Sports and SactownSports.com for the latest Kings news. Carmichael Dave.
He has very good sources, and he just kind of tells it as it is and gets to the point.
Jason Ross.
He has a lot of pretty smart things to say.
He's good at what he does.
On Sactown Sports.
When it comes to what the Kings need most in the offseason, is it as simple as saying defense? I mean, the question is, what do they need most? They need defense. Right?
Yeah, no, I agree. If you could pick one thing, they need an upgrade defensively. However, that defensive upgrade cannot suck on offense. They can be average on offense, but they can't be crappy on offense. Okay. Hello, Matisse Thybulle.
Yeah, I mean, honest to goodness, would have loved to have had Matisse Thybulle last year. Would have loved that. Would have been a very fun acquisition. And oh, by the way, I don't necessarily know, is Matisse Thybulle untouchable?
Oh, I highly doubt that. I highly doubt that. By the way, wouldn't be surprised if you saw him packaged with that number 3 pick with some of these big targets that the Blazers are after.
Which apparently, it looks like
that's all over the place.
The Hornets are, as according to Woj yesterday, going to select Brandon Miller with the number 2 pick, meaning Scoot Henderson falls to the number 3, which is interesting considering who Portland hired in Pooh Jeter and the fact that they have that close relationship. Scoot Henderson would certainly look like a viable Damian Lillard replacement.
I agreed. You also have Brian Windhorst was saying yesterday that it does really appear like they want to make that number 3 pick and find more veteran upgrades for Dame.
I don't.
Houseway.
I don't understand that. And by the way, it's silly season. So a lot of times, the winds are being moved around by agents.
Is this the silliest season of all the different NBA silly seasons, like right around draft time?
It's either draft time or the trade deadline.
I feel like this is more silly season than the trade deadline.
They both get silly. By the way, Matisse Thybulle is on a qualifying offer next year at $6.2 million. And I mean, again,
so he's restricted.
If I'm
the Kings can make him an offer in free agency.
That's what I'm saying. Or if I'm Monty McNair, maybe I look and say, okay, I don't know if they have it $6 million, but whoever the hell. And is the number 24 pick to you too much for Matisse Thybulle?
No.
I don't think so either. I actually think that's a pretty decent trade to make. Yeah. It gives Portland more room to maneuver. They don't need Matisse Thybulle, and all of a sudden you've added that. And that, to me, would make me feel better about a Kyle Kuzma. Now, if, for example, if you combine the moves and you sign Kyle Kuzma to a free agent contract and put him at the 3, and then you brought in a Matisse Thybulle as well in a minor move for that first-round pick and whatever matched up, now all of a sudden you have Davion Mitchell and Matisse Thybulle, so you have 2 guys that are all world-class defenders, both off the bench, but you now have more ability to move around lineups in these cases. I feel a little bit better about that.
You're just going to have to put a lot of offense next to those 2 on the floor together, but hey, the Kings have the personnel to do that.
That's the thing, exactly. The Kings have a lot of offense.
Malik Monk going to be looking for a lot of shots off the bench, even more than last year, if that's the case.
God, I'm looking at God, it would have to be like Rashad.
Thybulle is like your NBA crush, I feel like.
Well, Simmons.
Thybulle is an NBA to you. I think you crush Thybulle more.
I like Matisse Thybulle, but Matisse Thybulle is my girlfriend, but I'm married to Ben Simmons.
I don't know if you're married to Ben, though. I feel like Matisse Thybulle you're married to, and you've been really, really wanting to cheat on him with Ben Simmons for a while.
Imagine what I went through when both of these guys were on the Sixers, who I hate.
Looks like you're moving to China soon.
Is he going to be playing in China with Ben Simmons?
Yeah.
Nate has this thing.
The thing is, defense ain't sexy, man.
No.
It ain't sexy, but it is important. And Draymond Green ain't walking through that door. God,
sometimes the best move, and oftentimes the best move, is not the sexiest move.
No, it's not. Bruce Brown is now a free agent.
Now that's a guy I would like.
Okay. Matisse Thybulle is probably gettable fairly cheap. Marcus Smart is a home run grand slam. You're gonna have to give up a ton for him.
That's not happening.
I agree with you.
Although there's a report out from Chris Haynes that Boston has been in contact with Phoenix.
Oh God.
About DeAndre Ayton.
I mean,
dude, if I'm Phoenix, I'm like, yo, Marcus Smart and whatever the hell else you want. I'll give you Ayton.
DeAndre Ayton for Jaylen Brown, straight up.
Oh, geez.
How fun would that be?
Not enough shots.
Okay,
man.
First off, not happening. But let's just, what do you now? Booker, Jaylen Brown, KD, Bradley Beal. Who am I missing?
Nobody, because you'd be giving up Ayton.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So and Jock Landale.
There's not enough shots to go around.
God.
I know we joked around that with some real super teams, but that's insane. Yeah, no, I mean, if you're going to find a defensive upgrade, it's going to be probably more along the lines of a Matisse Thybulle in that range.
That's what I'm saying. Realistically, that's the type of thing you're looking for. Again, unless you wanted to take a big swing and grab a Ben Simmons, who you're probably at this point able to get Ben Simmons for salary dump, next to nothing. If Bradley Beal got what Bradley Beal got.
Well, again, the Bradley Beal got that because of the clause in his deal.
I get it.
I would almost think Ben Simmons actually might net you a little bit more just because there's no trade clause. But also, what's Simmons' market? That's the big question.
That's what I'm saying. I don't
think there's much, and so I don't know what the Nets feel like that. Reports are they want to build around Mikal Bridges.
Yes, and they should. And Ben Simmons is owed $78 million over the next 2 years and has barely played. Now, the Nets might be sitting here saying, there's no way we're trading him right now. We're either going to eat dirt on this thing or we're going to let him play next year just to get his value back up to something because he has no value.
And I feel like that's where they're at with it. Like, they have to at least try to up his value before getting off that deal because, yeah, you're probably trading him for a salary dump at this point.
So what do the Kings need the most other than defense?
We've talked about it, though. I want to look at it more positionally. Everyone's like, okay, where do you feel at the forward? I think a lot of people have made up their minds. This doesn't mean the Kings have.
Sure.
That HB is probably not back, or if he is, it's be in more of a bench role. But you've floated the idea, and so have others, of finding a stretch 5 to push Domas down to the 4. That could also be a rim protector. There's 2 names on the market, and I don't know if this one's going to be on the free agent market, but if not, he'll be on the trade market, is Kristaps Porzingis. And then Brook Lopez is an unrestricted free agent out of Milwaukee.
I've told you before, if you're going to move Sabonis to the 4, which be very careful there. The best year of his career happened at the 5.
Right.
But if you had to move him to the 4 and you had to pick a center, you're not going to find a much better center that would fit those holes than Brook Lopez.
Agreed.
And I don't care that he's 35 years old. Guy was a defensive player of the year candidate last year and could stretch and hit threes on a very legit level.
Are you okay with giving him the JJ Redick deal, as most would call it? I'm trying to see what that last money was for JJ, but it was I think it was Philly or New Orleans gave him a 1-year deal, which was just for an insane amount of money in 1 year.
I don't know. My thing with Porzingis is he's about to opt out. And his market right now is, according to several publications, somewhere around 4 to 5 years, $134 to $174 million.
Here's the contract. Redick got 2 very interesting contracts late in his career. One was in Philly. He got 1 year and $23 million.
Yeah.
And then New Orleans signed him up at 2 and 26.5.
Gotcha. By the way, I was just texted something. I can't say the team, but I was just told that Brook Lopez is going to sign with a team that is not Milwaukee and is not Sacramento. So,
Oh,
yeah.
China, like Nate.
No, NBA team.
Oh,
But-
that's
I think he's
well,
going to play with Dwight in Taiwan.
in Taiwan.
Uh-huh.
No, he'll be in the Western Conference.
By the way, Dwight taking a big pay cut in Taiwan.
A little bit.
Little bit.
Cost of living there maybe a little bit lower. I don't
Little
know.
bit.
I don't
Wow,
know.
he should
Maybe.
make the playoffs in a 16 league.
So, but if you're looking at choices between the starting center, moving Sabonis, bench, or the three,
Bench, to me, you need to make some upgrades. I really hope that guy is Plumlee. He's a free agent.
are you saying him over Pirtle because of the money?
I'm saying him over Pirtle because of the money, number one. And number two, you can run the same offense now for 48 minutes.
Yeah,
He can run out of the high post.
he is a massive free throw liability.
That's fine.
I mean, a
It-
hack a Shaq style free throw liability.
But he's not going to be on the court in those minutes. Those will be Domas's minutes. But he can give you 20, 25 minutes a game, which you want to bring Domas's minutes down this year, I feel like. You know, he was your Iron Man last year, but you'd like to give him a little more rest than you did.
Is the assumption that we're losing Trey Lyles?
I wouldn't assume that yet, but if they bring over Vezenkov and they sign like a Plumlee, then I would bet that Trey Lyles is probably somewhere else.
As of right now, Barnes, Davis, Len, well, obviously Delhi's gone. Lyles, Metu, and
Kada and Ellis, right?
Yeah, but I'm saying no. Kada and Ellis are both on qualifying offers. I'm saying those guys are unsigned.
I think Metsu's probably gone.
You
we
do?
know Delhi's gone. I do.
Really?
I think that train is, or that ship is sailed.
Okay, all
I
right.
think Alex Len is probably gone. TD and Trey Lyles and Barnes are question marks for me.
TD and Trey Lyles are probably going to price out, right? Although Lyles has said he wants to stay here.
Yeah, he does. It depends if he wants to take a discount.
I wouldn't mind that at all.
Because he should have some good value
I
on
would-
the open
I
market
think-
after last year.
I think he made himself a little bit of money. I would be just fine with Trey Lyles. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, let's talk about this G League move, new coach, new GM, and more. We'll get right back to it. Sactownsports.com.